Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council. It's Monday, December 18th, 2017, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Ryan?
Here.
Councilor Freeman?
Here.
Councilor Reed?
She is excused.
Mayor Clark?
Here.
Council President Parsons?
Here.
Councilor Herrera?
Here.
Councilor Anderson?
Here.
And Youth Councilor Hernandez.
And he is also excused tonight. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
That's the national anthem. Close enough.
I still have a desire to say it every time.
All right. We don't have anything under special orders of business tonight, so I'm going to move on to committee reports. But before I do that, I want to let folks know we are going to go ahead with consensus of council, make a change to the agenda tonight. We are going to pull from the consent calendar, where is it? Item 9D, approval of field usage rates for the 2018 season at Keizer Little League City Park. That's the only one to that issue, correct? So we're going to move that to administrative action. Any objections from council? All right. So those are the only change, that's the only change to the agenda for tonight. Committee reports, Jim Taylor is here for Parks. Come on down.
Roland, we knew who they were and they played like that. Oh, never mind. Council staff, thank you. We had a Parks meeting last Tuesday night, and we had a report on a couple grants that are available. One of them is Safe Routes to School. That's a smaller amount. It's $300K, and it's no infrastructure, so I'm not really sure how would want to implement that, but we're going to look into that in January. And also a federal grant, it's $1 million pot, and that is for trails. And we have a couple ideas on that. We're going to also look at that in January. I hope I'm not stealing Mr. Lawyer's thunder here, but the play structure at the Meadows, there was some real successful meetings with the neighbors, and they're going to be able to do that, and it looks like it's going to be two parts, one for the little kids, the tots, and another part for the older kids up to 12. And that's kind of what the neighbors wanted, and they're also going to be able to use on-site where they're going to take stuff out of where it is and fill, and they're going to do some trails. And one of the things, or fill in some of the trails, because there's low spots. And one of the things I found out, and I didn't know this, but there's springs up there in the park, and they kind of pop up here and there, and it causes a lot of problems. So interesting. I've lived here all my life, and I didn't know there were any springs there. And then let's get to the no smoking in the park. I had 3 motions the other night. I actually got a second on one of them. That was it. And so then I came up with the idea of contacting Marion County and City of Salem and see how it's been with them and their success. And I did talk to gentleman, head of the parks for City of Salem, and he has sent me a bunch of stuff. I haven't got into it yet, and I'll have a report to the Parks Board in January about that. And, you know, one of my things is, well, you got Marion County doesn't allow it. Of course, their reasons are a little bit different. I mean, they have real fire hazards in a lot of their parks, you know, up in the canyon. And Salem doesn't allow it. There's other cities around us. Bill may be able to know which ones those are, but we seem to be kind of an island that allows smoking, and we've had testimony that wish we'd stop that. So I've been kind of championing that cause, and I'm not having a lot of luck with the Parks Board, but it's hard to herd cats, so I'm still working on it. And so we're going to address that again in January. Nobody really wants to, but I'm gonna bring it up again. Hopefully I'll have some better reasons and we can get it back to you. Otherwise, you may just have it and you can do it if we don't send a recommendation. Please. Anyway, that's all I have tonight. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Counselor Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Taylor, wasn't the fire on Eclipse Weekend started by cigarette smoke at the Keizer Rapids Park?
It was started by a guy that was camped down there, down by the
It
river.
was a camping fire and not a cigarette.
Well, I don't believe they really know exactly how it started, but they know who did it, but there's no way to absolutely prove it. I happened to see the guy come back walking through the woods.
My question wasn't as much, I understand who, but as much as how. So I just figured that might
I'm
play a
not sure if
factor
they
in
really know
the safety.
exactly.
Okay,
I don't think it was a cigarette. I think it was intentional. I think he was upset because they had told him he had to leave.
okay, thank you.
That's kind of the guess, but again, there's nothing concrete,
Okay, thanks, Jim.
so.
So when we had the conversation about the smoking or no smoking in the parks earlier, the request to the Parks Board was to come back with recommendations on which parks and how that would be put together, because just saying not gonna doesn't solve the problem where the cigarette butts end up. How are you going to monitor, police, and so forth? So a more comprehensive recommendation on that, and going to Marion County and Salem makes sense to look at what models they're using. So I know this is a heavy lift, but just saying, well, we're just going to put a ban on and like that's going to solve the problem. I don't think that that's how Marion County and Salem did it either, but I could be wrong.
Well, I'll get that information. It's frustrating for me, and I've said this to everybody on the Parks Board. I said, first of all, we're not making the decision on this. This is a council decision. I said, unless we get it in front of them, they're not going to make the decision. And that was 3 months ago, and I finally got that to get it to you. And then, of course, you had some more questions and want us to take care of those, and they're not too interested in that. Like I said, I had 3 motions. I got a second on one of them. I was real happy about that, but that's as far as it went. And I'm not going to let it go. I'm going to keep going and try and get it back to you folks so you folks can deal with it.
Okay, well, good information is going to be key. And one of my concerns, especially in terms of not only safety, to Councilor Ryan's point, but also in terms of our water quality and littering, is the butts and having a way to properly dispose of them. There are, little containers that are very easy to get and so forth. I love what some municipalities have done, and they've turned them into popularity contests. In Chicago, you go onto the beach, and you can drop your cigarette butt in for the Cubs or for the White Sox, and they're marked, or the different types of hot dogs. I guess there's something about hot dogs there, about the different styles, so you can drop it in to vote for your favorite. So they've made it kind of fun and attractive for people to remember to drop them in there instead of in the sand, which was a huge problem with littering. So, around here, it gets into the storm drains, especially if it washes off of hard surfaces. And that is a pollutant in our stormwater because it goes straight to the river, as you well know. So if there's a way to think through the whole process of, time, manner, and place for the cigarette butts, disposal, safety, et cetera, I know that for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, that's the kind of information that would be very, very helpful in next steps. Any other comments from counselors on that would be helpful for direction to the Parks Board? Okay, and then I had one other question. You said something very, very quickly about $1 million, and then he went zipping on by. Would you rewind that, please? What's that? I didn't understand it.
That's a federal grant for trails, and the total pot is $1 million. So, and from that one actually made some sense on a couple of our parks that we might be able to take advantage of that. Those have to be in April, so we have time. We're going to take a closer look. Richard Walsh said something to Matt Lawyer about it, and Matt brought it to our attention, and we're going to try and have Richard there in January. He has a little more of the information on him, and we'll be able to make a decision whether we want to move forward.
Would this be for rehabbing trails, because we have so many of them that are needing to be redone, or is this for new acquisition?
I'm not really sure. We don't have a lot of the information. That's the reason we'd like Mr. Walsh to be there next month.
Because the fee right now is, as you well know, is for rehabbing, maintaining, repairing what we've got. So that is going to be front and center for the work of the parks, based on what we directed the fees to go for. And there's a lot of work that needs done. Is, you know, you guys know the list, Mr. Lawyer knows the list, and the whole community knows the list of stuff that needs done.
And the play structure at the Meadows is going to be something that the citizens see that this we were able to do because of this fee.
Right.
So it's a
It
good
was the
deal.
oldest one.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, any other question on parks? All right, thank you so much. We appreciate your
Now,
work.
I'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas to everybody, and don't forget Saturday the 23rd is Festivus, so everybody get around the pole, air your grievances, and have your feats of strength. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We always count on an extra lesson there. Okay, I go back to the agenda here. Is there anybody else here who is here to give a committee report from one of our committees or commissions? I don't have any other signups. Okay. Then we'll go on to public testimony. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have one public hearing scheduled tonight, and that's for Aromas Fusion Bistro liquor license application. And so we'll get to that in a minute. And then we have pulled up the administrative action on the usage rates for the Little League City Park. And with council's concurrence, I would like to take that right before we have that conversation. So is there anyone here who would like to speak to the council on something other than those two? Okay. Then we will go on to our public hearing. Tonight's public hearing is for Aromas Fusion Bistro liquor license application. And I'd like to open the public hearing. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On November 17, 2017, the city received an application for a new liquor license for Aromas Fusion Bistro, which is located at 3400 River Road North in Keizer, Oregon. The application is for a full on-premises liquor license, and the applicant is Jose Antonio Gonzalez. As required by a Keizer ordinance, a public hearing was scheduled. Notice was published and mailed to all property owners within 200 feet of the proposed establishment. Keizer Police Department reports a clear background check on the applicant. In addition, the Keizer Community Development Department finds the location of the establishment to be properly zoned and had no additional comments. It is recommended the public hearing be opened to allow testimony from the applicants or other interested individuals, and upon completion, the hearing be closed. Just further recommend City Council recommend approval of the application for Aromas Fusion Bistro under the guidelines as established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinances of the City of Keizer, and then the recommendation will be forwarded to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission for their dispensing of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? All right, seeing none, I would like to invite Mr. Gonzalez to come on down. Thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. It's an opportunity for us to meet, as well as go ahead and have a seat at the table. And if you would just state your name and city of residence for the record.
Jose Antonio Gonzalez, and I'm U.S. citizen. Just
So-
moved.
Do you live in Keizer?
Do you live in Keizer?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Oh,
I am
good.
living in Keizer now. Yes.
Well, welcome to the community.
Yes,
Yeah. So what would you like to tell us about the business? Where is it opening, and what your plans are?
It's in renovation. You know, we used to be in Easy Speaks, I believe, and then it turned to Chinese Jade Garden.
Okay, got it.
Yes, Jade Garden. Now we are moving in with something different. We're gonna have like a steakhouse, Italian, and some Mexican. Some more, a little bit more fancy, more upscale, you'd say. No more hats, no more piñatas, nothing like that. Just something different. We hope see everybody there. We are still in the renovation, and I believe by next month. By next month is ready. Yes, being an old building, there's always stuff after stuff and more stuff coming.
Oh, yeah, I've done my share of renovation on just, you do get into a house project and it goes deeper and deeper,
Yes,
so.
yes, and then
Yeah.
you, at the beginning, it's gonna be easy. Nope, it's not very
Nope.
easy. No.
No.
We're still struggling, but we hope to get it open by January.
Well, good.
We welcome everybody. Any questions?
All right, thank you so much. Roland, Councilor Ferreira.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Voy a preguntar en inglés.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to ask in English. You don't have a firm date, right? You don't have a firm date when you're
I
going to open?
don't, no. Being of the licenses and the permits, and then actually today I just got a big order of glasses that I brought in from Mexico.
All right.
Yeah, plates are coming, steel appliances are coming in today. I have some stuff tomorrow, and I don't want to open till it's ready. I don't want to open and it's half ready. Or I have been in the industry since 1991.
That's my question.
and every time we open a restaurant, when they were not ready, the restaurant would never do good. And for me, I think the first experience you go there, it has to be a good one so you can come back. Sometimes you go there and this is not what I wanted, and no.
Did you have another establishment right now, or you don't?
No. This is my first one.
Oh,
But
good
I
luck.
always, being so many years in the environment, they always, Antonio, let's go and open a restaurant. I would set it up, ready for them, train the employees, and getting ready for them. But it was every time it was for them, never for me. I was like, I'm working for someone when I can do it for me. And let's give it a shot. If
Wish you the
know,
best.
the worst it can do is not happening or fail. But that's not the way I'm not thinking. Everything's gonna go good.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a little bit confused by your name of the business. So Aromas?
Aromas.
Aromas?
Aromas.
Okay, Aromas.
Like the smoke.
Fusion
Aromas.
Bistro.
Bistro, Fusion
So it's a
Bistro.
Fusion Bistro. It's a restaurant. It's not like a smoking lounge.
No,
It's
a
a
restaurant.
family.
Yeah, it's a family cash. Yeah.
Okay, so
And we're gonna have cloth and
so liquor license with minors until 8 or 9, something like that.
well, we're not gonna be standing till no longer than 10 o'clock at night. We're gonna close early. We have two sections, dining room and the lounge.
Okay. Okay.
We hope to get the liquor license for the whole establishment, but there's gonna be a lounge on the side. Like you say, hopefully I can sit minors, to, like you say, to 8 o'clock, and so you can use those tables.
A restaurant's a whole different thing. I was envisioning one location, one area. So of course a lounge is 21 and over, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. I just actually wanted to wish you well, wish you luck, good luck, and just tell you how much at least for myself, I just appreciate you coming tonight, because so often we get these applications in here and the owners don't even bother to show up. So just really appreciate that very much.
I want to be involved too,
Be great.
I was living in the city of Redmond, and I knew most of the other person from the city councils, and, because I was serving them, the mayor and, the chief of police, they always come to, but I would never go there because, well, I didn't have an establishment, so I thought it was only for the business owners, Now that I know it, anybody can go there, I'm learning this part of the,
Well, there's a lot of people around here who are going to be cheering you on and willing to share what they can to help you be as successful as you possibly can be. So we wish you the very best.
thank you. I haven't put any opening soon, no info. I want to be ready, like I say, when I'm ready, I'll put it there so that everybody can start asking.
fine.
Yes,
Let us know.
yes,
All right.
definitely.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? All right, we're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas. Council President Parsons.
You have to close the public.
Oh, any other questions? Okay. Close the hearing. Now, Council President Parsons.
Thank you. I move that the Keizer City Council recommend approval of the Aromas Fusion Bistro liquor license application under the guidelines established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinances of the City of Keizer, and then we recommend approval to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council approve the liquor license for Aromas Fusion Bistro under the guidelines as established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinances of the City of Keizer, and then we forward the recommendation to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission for final approval. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously with one absent. Congratulations and good luck. All right, let's go on then to what is now item 8A. It was 9D, which was for the Keizer Little League field, approval of field usage rates for the 2018 season at Keizer Little League City Park. So we'll have the city manager's report first, and then we'll hear from people here to talk to us. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. This matters before the Council. Each year, if there's a field usage rates at the Little League Park. For those of you that might not know, Keizer Little League, through a request for proposals process a few years ago, was selected as the park manager to manage the program at Keizer Little League. Part of their revenues are what we call field slot rates. Those are the rates that are charged per game or practice to the users of the fields to help defray the cost of field maintenance. The Keizer Little League is requesting an increase of $10 on the field rates. Each rate, instead of $30, $40, $50, and $135 for field 6 with lights, it'd be $40, $50, $60, and $145, so a $10 increase on those rates. We checked back a few years, and if I have it correct, there were no increases for the last 3 years, I believe, 2014, 15, and 16. In 2015, there was a swap of rates. One field went up and one field went down. But other than that, there has not been any increases. So the matter is before you tonight to consider if you want to grant this increase. It is in the discretion of the council on the field rates, and it is by resolution, which you see attached. So if the council wishes to raise the field rates as the request by Keizer Little League, then you would want to adopt the attached resolution. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much.
One more bit of info. I know that we have representatives from both Keizer Little League and KYSA are both here. So if council has any questions, folks can come and chat with you.
Sounds like a good plan. All right, any questions on the staff report? How about we hear from Keizer Little League folks, if there's someone who's a representative here, and then we'd like to hear from McNary Youth Baseball?
He'll explain that one. It's the name
Okay.
change.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you. It's gonna-
Are we on? So my name is Brad Arnsmeyer. I'm the current president of Keizer Little League, Keizer resident. I'm accompanied here by a number of other board members, Mr. Clint Holland, Tony Cuff, here at the table with me. And we've brought this proposal forward, and we appreciate the consideration. We're doing our very best right now to rebuild a once glorious park, and I know that a lot of you have been out to this ballpark. The last year or so, the comments have been overwhelmingly positive that we're doing a good job, and I like to think that we are. We're rebuilding fields slowly but surely. We are making capital improvements, and we continue to maintain the complex at an appropriate level. As you put more money into these fields, we want to make sure that it's not going to go to waste. We want to make sure that we can continue to maintain the fields, and we can continue to keep the park as it should be as we continue to make these improvements. So I've sent Mr. Johnson a list of our expenses as requested by McNary Youth Baseball. I think you'll see that contributions put in by the KYSA folks last year were spent wisely and completely and appropriately. And you see it's not a cheap complex to run. We take that on. We're happy to manage this complex on behalf of the city. We're proud to do so. But as you know, it takes some revenue to do this. So we're asking for this increase, and we think it's a modest and fair increase. Can I answer questions?
Councilor Herrera.
Welcome, Brad, Tony, and Clint over there. I've really been watching in the last few years the great improvements you've done, and I really always thought to myself, it's due time, and I know what it takes. There's one guy down there that probably spent more hours than I did, but we kind of know what it takes to run that place, and I think it's overdue. And just for the fact that you've improved so much, and I see the process. I still go out there, and usually when I'm walking the fields, I watched the improvement, and it's been just great to watch what you guys are doing out there. My compliments to both of you, Tony and Brad and Clint, and I think it's overdue, so I'm all for it, and I just wanted you to know that I appreciate what you've done because that affects a lot of kids and a lot of people. So the impact is great for our community, and as you know, that's what we like, so I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
My 2 cents. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Council President Parsons.
Hi, welcome, gentlemen. I really want to hear from both sides before I ask all the questions, but the first question I have is how much volunteer time really is spent down there with parents, like working in the dugouts, pulling weeds, waking? I mean, do you still do a big volunteer day down there to do that? I mean, I'm with him. We did the same thing back in the day, but.
Yes, we'll do usually 2 or 3 volunteer days each year. Unfortunately, we don't get quite as many folks out as we'd like. However, we more than make up that with our the board participation. It is hundreds and hundreds of hours that we put into the mowing of the complex, the renovation of the fields, director on duty being there to answer questions, being there to direct people where they need to go. The duties are numerous, and it's all done on a volunteer basis. And we're proud of that fact, and we think we do a good job. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
The 3 of us alone probably have
Microphone.
the 3 of us alone probably have over 3,000 hours, just the 3 of us here, not to mention everybody else.
That's kind of how it goes. Councilor Freeman.
Thank you, gentlemen. I know you said you turned in expenses of, so I'm guessing, Shannon, is that what you're making a copy of? Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you for that. Not that I think anything, but, so I guess for me, I know a modest increase of $10, which I appreciate it being modest. I appreciate the work out there, but I'm thinking of how that's going to impact the children. So you're going to have to raise more sponsorships, and it may be in there, and it may be addressed through other public comments. But not that I don't think it's warranted. Believe me, we go out there every year for a parks tour. You don't have a bigger champion sitting there than Clint Holland of all the things that need to be done out there. And you can drive by there every weekend, and it's packed. So, but I want to make sure we're not excluding any children. And are we looking for more sponsorship in a community that gives tons already? So those are just my concerns. Thank you.
Okay, so we have just been given the, and this will be put into the record too, so people can see it later, the 2017 Keizer Little League Complex expenses. So this wasn't in the packet, so it's the first we're seeing for this year. So I appreciate you bringing that. My question is for you regarding the amount. So this is for all fields, $10 rather than a percentage. And because so for the smaller fields, it's actually a 33% increase. For larger fields, it's 5-10%. So it's highly variable because it's a fixed rate amount. So what was the thinking of the board in doing it that way,
Rather than just a percentage?
rather than a percentage?
Clint, you have? Really, it was more of an accounting process for us. Going up in a percentage standpoint, you can begin to, the numbers can get a little wonky. I think it's easier just to charge a very modest $40 fee rather than a $37.30 fee if you're going up on let's say a percentage basis. Even at $10 per slot, it may be a 33% increase for the lower levels, but we think it's very modest in what we're asking. And if you look at some of the other communities, I've done as much research as I can. It's difficult sometimes to find field rental slots, but we're still in line, if not less expensive than some of the other communities in the Northwest.
I was trying to find the Salem rates online, and it does not pop up easily on their website. You have to kind of dig.
You have a follow-up?
So that was my follow-up question. I do have a follow-up, and then I want alternative call on you. So in that thinking, though, with the smaller fields, it is a bigger increase per hour, so it is cumulative. So that's why I wanted to double back on the methodology in coming up with the increase so that it was spread across the fields, because I imagine the smaller ones have a higher turnover. You have more teams coming through than the lighted fields, or do I have that backwards?
The lighted field isn't used nearly as much as the other fields, the t-ball fields and the softball, baseball fields. Clearly, those are used much, much more frequently than Field 6, which is the larger 90-foot base field with the lights.
Okay. Council President Parsons?
Yeah, I have another question. So the cost of maintenance on each field, if the games are 150 minutes, during the week, you probably have one game on each field, is that correct? If it's 150 minutes or whatever it looks like the time slot?
During the week.
During the week?
During the week, we'll have, once the baseball season begins, we'll have either a practice or a game on every one of those fields, basically every night. Sometimes 2 on Saturdays and rarely anything on Sundays. It's usually a special one-off, a tournament, or an organization that'll come in on a Sunday, but they're used nearly every day.
Great. So I guess my question is, I understand the weekend, the weekend is back to back to back, but my question is, during the week, does it really cost $40 per field, per game, to maintain that field for the next game, the next day? I guess that's my question, because
Okay, well, let me answer this. Back 10, 12 years ago, I did a study on what it cost on a slot basis to operate that complex. Now, what we're talking about is the wear and tear on the fences that have to be replaced every 15, 20 years, redoing the grass, redoing the sprinklers. I mean, it's just endless, all the stuff you have to do for a field. New bases every couple of years. And this is 10, 12 years ago, it was $69 a slot. So me personally, I'd like to get it back up closer to what our actual cost is, because we're trying to improve the whole complex, but we're not keeping up with the current stuff even. I know that cost is greater than $69 now per slot, because like fences are atrocious what it's costing us to fix the fences, so.
And when you're considering the cost of a field slot, really you have to look at it not just on a nightly basis, but it's something that goes on year-round that we have to factor in during the season. For instance, we're using gas and we're using mowers right now when there's nothing going on. But as maintenance, it has to take place in the off-season. That also comes with a cost. Cost of fuel, the cost of maintenance of equipment, the volunteer time that it takes to do it. And you have to factor in that 12-month process and not just what's going on any given night in the middle of April, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I see wheels turning. Okay, Counselor Anderson.
Boy, I'm really getting into the weeds here on this one without any guidance
We don't want
whatsoever.
weeds out in the field.
We try and keep weeds away, Counselor.
Okay, thank you.
We're spraying
Thank
for
you. I
those.
appreciate that, yeah. Well, first of all, just a slight correction for the record. I'm presuming that PG&E is referring to the electric utility, so just because it should be PGE, Portland General Electric, not Pacific Gas and Electric.
My apologies.
It's okay. I work for the gas company, so, you know, that's, stuff like that
Personal,
stands
my
out to me.
apologies.
Secondly, so the total expenses that are listed here, everything above field improvements on this list, is that the annual cost?
Yeah, that's what it's cost thus far in 2017.
Okay, so just a quick total is just over 15,400 altogether. Do you have any costs on top of that are not noted here?
There were some costs that I did not include on this just because I couldn't locate the receipts at the time, and I thought it was unfair to include it on this list. Certainly, there are plenty of costs above and beyond. And of note, something else that doesn't show up on this ledger are the things that are donated. And those aren't things that we can count on every year. They're gracious that they come in and year out. But in the instance that those didn't show up one year, we'd have to pay for those. Things like field chalk, lime. We get a certain amount of fuel donated each year, very generously from Carson Oil. But you'll see even above and beyond what's donated, there's still additional costs. For instance, in the fuel area, we still have to make a call to Carson. So does that answer your question, Counselor?
Yeah, just on that point. The field improvements that are listed here, those are, I'm presuming those are just like one-time costs that were incurred for general upgrade and certain aspects of that, or is that an ongoing type expense?
I understand your question. Not everything is a one-time cost. There's a number of items listed here. Underneath there, you'll notice something like infield dirt mix, turfus, topsoil, mound, batter's box clay. Those are going to be recurring. Those are going to happen each year, whether we like them to or not. Some years you're going to spend more than others. This last year we've needed a lot more topsoil just because of the renovations that we've done on field number 5, and then previous year we've done on field number 7. The warning track center is not necessarily a one-time deal because we still have a number of fields that we need to improve and that we're going to have to put cinder on. As time goes by, wear and tear of the warning tracks, we'll have to refresh that warning track cinder if we want to maintain the quality product that we have there.
Right, okay.
I don't think it shows the total there, but if you add up that list right there, it comes to $37,465 in expenses that we put into the field of maintenance for this year. And I might say last year we did field 3, or 2 years ago, field 3. This year we got to do 2 fields, and that was 7 and 8, and also 5. We did actually 3 fields this last year, and we have 12 fields out there that we have to take care of. I mean, the wear and tear is going to be right back here, and we're still not going to have the equipment upgraded completely on all the fields.
Final question. I don't know if we've got the expenses, but it's helpful for me to give some consideration, just a general ballpark idea.
No pun intended.
You got to see me at
You're
Rotary.
on a roll
I'm
tonight.
We're on fire.
I'm terrible. Just a ballpark on the from a revenue perspective. I don't know if we've. You've got lots of revenue, I'm sure, coming from a variety of sources, sponsorship. I think you all have concession sales and that sort of thing that are going on there. But just in terms of getting down to the rates that we're contemplating tonight, do you have any feel for what your total revenue is off of that?
Well, I'll tell you from a
Gross.
complex standpoint,
Yeah.
which is, I think, what we're trying to address here. You'll see that one of the figures down there is $5,735, which is the total amount that was paid by KYSA last year. Ballpark figure about $22,000 in field slots that Keizer Little League has put into it. We've had roughly $3,800 come in from Men's Baseball League and other organizations, private softball organizations in particular. They've had weekend tournaments out there, and other organizations that'll come in and just practice, and they'll pay their nightly field slots. Just a quick guess on that one's probably another $4,000 to $5,000.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Is that fair?
Council President Ryan, I looked at her, Parsons, and then I'll come to Councilor
So,
Herrera.
so how many kids does Little League have? How many kids does KYSA have? Or the McNary Youth Baseball?
I won't speak for McNary Youth. We had approximately 450.
Okay.
And I imagine you're probably looking at disparity in field slot usage.
Oh, I was just looking at how many kids each one had just to see. I was going to calculate this and
Yeah.
see how much it was per child.
You guys are probably pretty close, right? We only offer baseball. Yeah, about 400.
About 400?
About 300? About 300? 250
Okay,
to 300,
thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
So, Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in regards to the maintenance and the cost, there's so many, we talked about field equipment, and Clint will remember this, right before a tournament, I remember one time we had a pipe go out in one of those, in Field 5, I believe. Thank God for the city to loan us the backhoe, but that set us down about $800. I remember that incident right there, and I always remind me of the stuff that we go through that people don't realize. I do see the maintenance long-term is a big deal, because that's, the $40 a field is, to me, is very reasonable. And the other things and behind-the-scene things, like being out there at midnight, and trying to fix those things that are going on, are never seen by those that don't know that. But I just want to reemphasize the extra stuff that goes on there and costs that keep piling up. I know the gas had gone up, and like I said, our maintenance, our mower broke down once. We had to buy a brand new mower. It's a lot of costs, and I just want people to understand what it costs to run that stuff. It's a lot of work and a lot of volunteerism, and the money doesn't seem to ever go away as far as need. But that's one thing I wanted to make sure that we knew that. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager and then Councilor Ryan.
Right. So just a comment. I don't find your field rates to be inappropriate or anything. I just want you to pay attention as you go into the future to make sure that you're keeping an eye on what the market actually is for field slots, because you don't want to put yourself in a position of charging more than the market will bear, and then you end up seeing a reduction in actual revenues, even though your rates are higher. So it's just something to really pay attention to each year.
I understand and absolutely agree.
Okay.
Councilor Ryan.
So bear with me, because the longer I've sat here, the longer my list has gotten. So, but it's all good stuff. It's really good stuff. And I'm a softball kid and a baseball mom. And so, I'm with you. I've been out there a long time. So I'm kind of off of, my notes kind of are similar to Councilor Anderson's, but I know there's the revenue, okay, which I have not honestly seen the line item. But I'm wondering so concessions goes into that fee of revenue, correct, to pay for, right, some of the
Concessions
offset?
goes into Little League account.
Okay. And then and then sponsors, right? Now the sponsors, when I think of sponsors, I think most people think team sponsors. But are you getting sponsors for things like, F&W sponsored the field or the fencing, or see what I'm saying? Are you getting more, and I'm a marketing degree, so that's where my head automatically goes. And then I know you've got some signage out there you have had, and so, which is exciting to see the business get behind. I'd love to see that more. I think there could be some great revenue. I worked with City of Salem on theirs, with Benji a long time ago, and I just think there's an opportunity there for some great revenue that I'd hate to discount, especially because I think there's some kids, I want to make sure, like Madam Mayor said, that we don't leave anybody out. So that being said, I realize there's a balance there. And when I hear Clint and I've talked about this for a long, long time, when I hear the number $40, but you did your numbers $69 per slot 12 years ago. Okay, even we all know that doesn't ring up, that doesn't match. So we're not, and to Chris's concern, the amount of is charging. I know, like for Tualatin, for example, and they're on like closer to I-5 and things like that, they're quite a bit higher. Salem's quite a bit higher. I don't think pricing ourselves out of the market is going to be an issue where people won't choose us, but they're not going to choose us if we don't have quality to provide for what we're asking them money for either. So I think there's a balance there, right? So my question would be, you know, are we thinking about all the ways to get there to cover this? And $40 may not be enough. I mean, honestly, I really look at that as a parent and go, I don't know how you do it. You know, because the needs you're listing, because of those unexpected, I'm just wondering if there's a way to look at this and either offset it by maybe more sponsorships, or, you know, do we need to raise a fee? Maybe that's not enough. I'm trying to be realistic here.
We always have space on our board for a fundraiser coordinator.
Do you know how many
Counselor?
boards I fundraise for?
Probably plenty.
Couple.
No, we
Yeah.
work very hard to try and bring in as much revenue as we can through sponsorships. As all of you know, it's challenging in this community to raise funds. There are so many organizations that are in need. We're just one of the organizations that are in need. And we do, I think, a decent job, not a great job. I think we could probably do a little better at raising funds. But yeah, we look at every avenue that we possibly can in order to bring the funds in. When you talk about some of the other communities that have field slot usage costs that are a little more expensive, and we also have to think about the fact that everything done here is done on a volunteer basis.
Right.
So we are able to keep them a little bit lower. A lot of those other communities also have parks and recs
Districts.
and so they're subsidized a little bit differently. A lot of these parks that you're going to go to in some of these other communities, I know Tualatin Valley up near Beaverton, it's an absolutely gorgeous complex, but they have an entire crew that is dedicated, a paid crew,
Right.
professional crew, that is dedicated to the mowing, the maintenance, the everything that we do all on our own. So I kind of got off in Counselor Anderson's weeds there a little bit, but just I can't stress enough how hard we work to try and to bring value to the community through those fields, and we'll continue to do so, even at a modest $10 per slot increase.
And I'd love to maybe think of the conversation that next year it needs to be more, or, I mean, we need to be enough, so.
I think the $10 increase will be enough for the foreseeable future. I can't imagine coming back here next year asking for more.
I have some really good ideas if I could be a guest at maybe
Would
one of your
love
meetings.
to have you come by and
Okay.
speak.
I will bring my packet of what I did for Salem and
Perfect.
share it with you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, I want to bring, this is expenses that we've done so far this year. We're getting ready, Brad and I just met with the fence guys, and we're just about ready this year probably to spend another $24,000 on fences. And in addition to it, we're in the process, none of our scoreboards have worked. And so we're going to probably replace 3 of them this year. We'll just have to do without the other ones. So as you can see, we're looking at, besides the $37,000 we spent already, we're looking at probably spending pretty close to another $30,000 by the end of the year.
So I'm going to double back on something that you and Councilor Herrera touched on, and that is the things that aren't here, that aren't listed. So we don't have a picture of the true cost, because the value of the volunteerism, the value of the donations is not on the spreadsheet, but that is a real cost in maintaining the park, and that is a real value to the entire community when it comes to looking at what it takes to run that park. And to me, those numbers are extremely helpful, because I think it paints a realistic picture. The generosity of this community, especially all of y'all who've done baseball and softball and so forth. I am not a baseball mom. My son played soccer, so I didn't spend any time on the baseball fields, but trust me, I spent a lot of time on the soccer fields. It is a dedication that you give to your kids and all the kids that come through your programs that you invest yourselves in. There's a value to us as a community in what happens for our children through these programs. there's the athletic development and the physical, but there is so much more that you pour into our young people. And I want to pause and make sure we recognize that tremendous value of what you're bringing. So when we're looking at what it costs to maintain these fields, what really helps me is to not only see with the cash out of pocket, but the in-kind donation value, the labor value, because your time is valuable. Everybody who is volunteering for these organizations, your time is precious. You're taking it away from your family. Now, sometimes you get your kids out there too, and they have to help. I get that. Been there, done that. But more importantly, what the work you're doing has a value. And it really helps me assess the reality of what it took. If you guys beamed up and you were gone, that park still needs to be maintained. It helps me to know what it's going to cost to replace that. So we can plan going forward. Let's say something really drastically changed, or we won the lottery or something, we'd know how much money to put in. So that's a reality check for me, and I really appreciate those numbers. And then we can also appreciate the fundraising, the volunteerism, and so forth, because then we've got something to compare it to. So what you're doing is extremely valuable, and I want to make sure we honor and value that in our calculations. So kind of reeling back a little bit, what we're seeing here then, I'm getting is a percentage, a fraction of what actually is going on in terms of the investment, reinvestment from the city. I'm looking over at Mr. Lawyer now because I believe our Parks Department has been involved in these projects that are reinvesting in the fields. Is it not?
Actually, we have not been very involved in those. The Little League organization has applied for and been successful in a couple of parks improvement grants through the parks that the Parks Board's approved. But other than that, they've pretty much done everything themselves. The city's committed about $6,000 a year out of the parks budget toward maintenance and typical city services like we do in all the other parks, includes more maintenance, things like that. I don't think we've ever spent the full $6,000 in any fiscal cycle. I will say that the Little League folks were very easy to work with when this all started, as far as when they took over and the city had committed some funding. We actually committed funding for some labor as well, and they said, you know, we really don't need that labor, but we need a mower. So we bought a mower instead of providing the labor. So that's been a very fluid relationship, trying to meet the needs for the complex as they come up. But as far as staff time and other city resources, there really hasn't been much put into it other than what I've talked about. So.
Well, the results for the safety and the opportunity for our kids to play baseball and softball has really spoken for itself. Everybody's, I think, having much better experience the last 2 years as the investments have come in. I really appreciate the businesses and individuals in our community also who have donated to help make that happen, because I don't think anybody's got that big checkbook in their back pocket and says, yeah, I'll just write that check for y'all. It takes a lot of work. So I'm gonna give the folks from McNair, make sure, thank you, McNair Youth Baseball. A chance to talk with us. Thank you all so much for coming tonight, and thank you for your investment in our young people.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I have Ryan Walsh, who's here to talk to us from McNair Youth Baseball. Thanks for coming tonight.
You're welcome. We threw you a curveball with the name change, so yes, pun intended on that one.
Ha ha.
Just to explain that real quick, we have spoken to Coach Keizer over at McNair High School, and we felt like it was a great decision on our behalf, and he's very excited and supportive that we decided to change the name to McNair Youth Baseball to kind of assimilate ourselves with the high school program and kind of show a little bit of pride. We go a lot of places, play a lot of tournaments, and it's always the high school program's name that they run with, and we felt like it was fun for us to be able to kind of change that name, go away from a quote-unquote sports organization, and really focus on baseball. It's what we do well, and we figured that's where we would keep it. So I appreciate you guys giving us a few minutes of your time. Yes, there is a proposal for MoneyWise. It is $10 a field slot. I just want to make sure everybody understands that's $10 a field slot for practice times or for game times. So it's the largest complaint that we have in our organization from parents every year is that the limited field space time. And yes, we spent $5,735 last year on the field slots. A big difference from Keizer Little League. Transparency level is we've gone elsewhere. We've had to find homes elsewhere because we can't afford the fields. We physically can't anymore. We were talking about a difference. We had 186 spots last year for our guys. That's almost $1,900 that we have to tack on somewhere, charge a parent somewhere. We struggle with that. We struggle with increasing our prices for that reason. It makes it somewhat unpayable, if that makes sense. It's tough. And we decided this year, as an excitement for McNair Youth Baseball and our new name, we're going to give every kid in Keizer an opportunity, every young kid. We decided to offer free T-ball this year. We have a numerous number of sponsors that have stepped up to help us with uniform sponsorships and cost affiliated with that. One of them being potentially a big sponsor here in Keizer that has stepped up to possibly purchase all of our uniforms for all of our T-ball programs and put a special logo on the front. And I think it'll be an amazing success if it works out. So we're very excited for that this year. We don't want to leave any kids left out. We just don't. We're tired of watching kids go play other sports. We want to come play baseball. But with that said, obviously the revenue's not there for our T-ball program to be able to afford more when it comes to field slots. That $1,900 is tough. What was failed to be mentioned in the explaining of the field slots was there's also a $15,000 grant from the Rotary Club that literally gets every year. And we don't feel like for us, with that added extra $15,000 perk, our local kids shouldn't suffer the extra having to take care of that extra cost. We love the field work that they do. We know where they're coming from. We did the fields for many, many years. We totally respect and understand where they're coming from. We love the fields. They're great. We love to take an opportunity to play on them any chance we get. But we do everything we can when we're there. These guys know, and they'll be the first ones to tell you that we have a good partnership when it comes to maintaining the fields, taking care of the fields, raking the fields when we're done, watering the fields. We're always there to help. Last year, Field 6, we went down, we brought a bunch of dirt from Chimawa, which we utilize as one of our fields, and brought in a couple trailer loads of dirt and helped on Field 6. We had 10, 15 guys there helping out. So we're always here to help. One of my biggest concerns is third-party use of the field. There is a softball organization, third-party softball organization that is unfortunately offered discounted rates during the off-season. And I feel like maybe a third-party organization should maybe pay more for the fields rather than a local Keizer organization. And maybe they should be the ones that we kind of tap on a little bit to help us out rather than hurting our own. So just a few thoughts for us. It's a tough one for us to swallow. It's a tough one for us to hit for an organization that's small. We don't have a big national backing. We're local. We're a local organization. And our recreation program is here. There are kids. We take care of our own. T-ball and AA and the 10U recreation level is fully internally in-house. So we absorb those costs 100% ourselves. So we would obviously prefer to not see a price increase in the fields. We'd like to utilize them more. We feel like if the price increase goes up, we're going to have to continue to utilize other fields, unfortunately. And that's I mean, for lack of better terms, that stinks. That's not fair for us or for our kids. That's a tough pill to swallow, especially with the parents and the kids. Little Johnny gets to play at Little League fields, and little Billy doesn't, and it comes down to money, and that should never come down to money for kids. I'm a foster parent, and so trust me, I know what it's like to deal with that, and it shouldn't come down to that for kids ever. So that's our talking point. But we're here to answer any questions that you guys have.
Well, first of all, I want to reiterate what I said earlier. The investment that you make in the kids that come through your program, like with Little League and so forth, any sports opportunity is an investment in their future. So we really appreciate your dedication to their development, and we're very happy to hear. I'm very happy to hear about the good partnership and the ongoing building relationship between everybody to get to that end. So thank you so much for being here tonight and engaging in this conversation. It sounds like this is an ongoing relationship, and I think that's wonderful for our kids. Questions for Mr. Walsh?
I have just a comment real quick.
Yes.
For both groups, I'd still like to see someday, I sort of have this dream that both groups will one day heal and become one group again.
Yes,
And I think
amen.
that would be an amazing thing for the community. So I encourage everybody to, bury old hatchets and try to work toward putting that together.
Amen.
So.
There's a proposal that we emailed to Keizer Little League once again for another proposal to merge the programs together, to keep it internal and to keep it local. And so that we're hoping to bridge the gap and be able to bring these two programs together. It's time. It needs to happen. And we could build a great baseball program here locally. If we can put these two monsters together, we could have one big beast and really make this thing work. Absolutely. Okay. And put the money back in the fields, which would be nice. So.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you. I'm speaking before I'm thinking. That's actually gives me in
It's on a
trouble a
clock,
lot,
we're
I'll be honest. So I'm just going to say real briefly, the bigger picture, I get it, okay? But I want to know, it sounds like kind of the divisiveness is going to be financial, isn't it? It always is. It doesn't matter what it is, but isn't that kind of the bottom line we're looking at here?
Absolutely.
So my ideas and concepts that I have and some things that I think might work might actually maybe help the two come together, and I hope that maybe my ideas, like I said, I don't want to speak without thinking it through, but I just think there's some really great opportunities that we have, and I'd love to be a part of that if we're talking about bridging. And it's all about the kids. I'm sorry, that's all I'm
Absolutely.
one of those moms who I don't have to choose. I'm like, my kids weren't very good anyway. We were just lucky to get on the field. So I guess I would love to say, let's find the financial answer, and I think there's some things that maybe we haven't tried. So I'd like to be a part of that conversation, and I think with everybody, collaborative teamwork, working for the same goal, it would be of course, agreement that would need to happen. But I'm happy to share my ideas with that and try to help all the kids.
Sounds
So
fantastic.
I would love that, yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. Walsh? Council President Parsons.
Maybe mine's more of a statement than a question too, because I'm looking at the financial thing. I know what it takes to do Little League too. I mean, I was a Little League president in Portland a million years ago before I moved down here, and it takes a lot. But a financial strain on a parent, if it costs $150 to do Little League, I want to know where that money's going. How much of it is spent on uniforms? How much of it is spent on the field? How much, as a parent, I want to know that. And as a leader, I'd want to tell them that. So I guess what I'm asking you guys is, if I figure out that you're paying just only I just say it, maybe it's not only, but $5,700, you have 300 kids, that's $19 a kid for fields. How much do you charge in your program for a child to play baseball?
It depends on the level. So it depends on, our organization is a recreation organization, so we have T-ball and AA, and then we also have a JBO organization. So this is more of a, we do some out-of-town games. We play Silverton and Mount Angel and these places, so those costs are a little bit more, a little bit higher when it comes to that, but we do field space-wise. We rent the heck out of the fields. For practices is when we need them the most, so that's when the money comes into play. So it breaks down kind of per level to kind of even itself out is our main objective. So we definitely charge much higher for the older kids than we do for the younger kids, because it's a little bit tougher to pay $200 for little Johnny to go out and hit a ball off a tee, and he doesn't care. All he cares about is a shirt and a hat and snack after the game.
Yeah.
It's that's what my 6-year-old, he asked every game, what do we have for snack? Who's bringing snack? So we do charge a little bit more for the older boys, and then we do the younger kids, but we group it all together to even the cost out.
Okay, thank you.
So just one question. So all T-ball is provided through sponsorships. Did I hear you correctly?
Correct.
So you have, all of that is underwritten. Do the parents volunteer as part of that sponsorship, or it's just to introduce the kids to the game and no expectations?
So we are going to offer a sponsorship program. So we do offer discount cards every year to our program. We highly suggest that the older kids utilize those, and we sell them to the parents, and they can have an opportunity to go sell them for the exact face value that they bought them for and keep that money. And so it kind of is a wash for them. Or For the younger kids T-ball, we are not quote unquote forcing the hand on that. We truly wanted to offer a free T-ball program this year. So we are not asking for any sponsorships. We are going to offer it to the parents. Hey, if you'd like to help out and sell some cards, we would love for you guys to go sell some cards and be able to give that money back. But we've had some great community sponsors already that we think can offset that cost for T-ball, and it should be a piece of cake.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate
Pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
Appreciate your volunteering too for the kids. I should have probably asked Mr. Arnsmeyer this question, but I'll ask you. Maybe you can answer it. Just the issue of how is field time allocated? Is this like first come, first serve, or, you know, how does that
That's
work?
completely on Keizer Little League. They're the ones that are in charge of that. We request field slot times, and we go through it together and figure out what field slot times work best for everybody. It's actually a pretty cool joint jaunt that we do, and it's a dance. We request certain times. They come back and say, hey, we can fill these, but we can't fill these. Can these work for you? We move things around, we shuffle around, and it's a pretty even allocation. They've been great about working with us on it.
Okay, so one of the things I recall, you know, kind of detecting in something that you had mentioned, but just in terms of the time or the amount of time that each of the clubs gets on the field. I think we heard there's a lot higher revenue coming in that Keizer Little League is going to be playing for these fields and so forth, and so I'm just curious. I mean, is it just that much more time that they're on the field for practices and the games, or?
That would be my assumption, was practice field time.
Okay.
Unfortunately, if you drive by the fields, it's empty a lot. We all pay for the slots, and there are times we actually pay for our slots before our JBO schedules come out, so we kind of guess. And we go to JBO and say, hey, can we make these work? There are a lot of times when we don't have any teams in town that can practice. We've already paid for them. So unfortunately, some of those fields are left empty from time to time. But we have to turn our field allocation spots in long before the JBO schedules are made. So it's kind of we kind of shoot from the hip. So yes, there's limited time for us, but that's strictly due to financial. We try to, we've been blessed in a great way of having some great community sponsors and some partners that allowed us to use some different baseball fields at no cost, which helps us a ton, helps our organization out a ton. So we've utilized those partners quite a bit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you so much for coming. All right, council, are we ready to put a motion on the table regarding this matter, and then we can debate? Come on down. And if you could give us your name and your city of residence for the record.
Yeah, I'm a board member for McNair Youth Baseball. My name's Josh DeVos. And just to tag along what Ryan mentioned, you know, we're pressed for time every year when it comes to allotting for field time because of our JBO schedule and when we have evaluations. So this year we decided to move our registrations up a little earlier than we have in the past. So we've set our prices for the year already because our registration just opened up. And so to add an increase now really throws off all the pricing work that we've done over the past 3 months, and we've worked pretty hard to put those price points together considering we're offering free T-ball. Adding an extra cost right now is going to really put a lot of strain on our organization. We don't want to leave any kids out that can't afford to come play because we have to tack on extra costs. So, you know, this may be a reasonable fee increase until we see all the numbers. I can't say that for sure. But putting it on after we've already opened our registration and we've already set our prices for the year is going to make it extremely difficult for us to manage. We don't run for a profit. You know, at the end of the year, if we have $100 left in our bank account, we did a good job. Okay? And that's probably about where we're at right now. You know, we're an open book, we're a public organization, so if you ask, that's where our account would probably be right now. So we do everything, umpires, you know, uniforms, our field usage fees, our insurance, it all goes right back to the kids, and we try to keep the costs low. And we depend upon sponsorships from the community. And as I mentioned earlier, you can't rely upon those every year. So, you know, if this came about in between now and next year, we could probably figure out a way to make it work. But now that we've already set our price points for this year, and we've decided, look, kids are not, they're not going out for sports like they used to. You know, they're playing video games, they're doing other things. We want to get as many kids involved in a positive activity that has good role models leading the charge as we can, okay? And it's hard to do. And that's why we thought free T-ball would be a great idea, but, you know, adding an additional cost now after our price points are set is going to make that really difficult, you know? And I appreciate it and hope you consider that. Thank you.
Hang on, we've got a question.
Sure.
All right, Councilor Herrera.
Young man, were you aware that there was going to be an increase before you set your registration or whatever?
No, we just got,
So you guys are not communicating in terms of,
I would say that our communication on many things has been pretty good. My experience from last year at the ballpark with both organizations was, I thought it was great. You know, there's a lot of cooperation, cleaning up before and after games, taking care of the fields. You know, I think last year we brought KYSA and McNair Youth Baseball brought in 3 tractors and a group of volunteers. I made my whole team come, and I think we should have more kids actually taking care of the fields because that's a great lesson for them. So communication has been pretty good on most levels. For whatever reason on this issue, we just got notified, what was it, a week? Last Wednesday. Yeah, a week ago, last Wednesday.
have you tried to talk together and try to compromise something, or you've never talked to?
We had a joint board meeting. The 2 organizations had a joint board meeting just last month, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to make that, but to my knowledge, that was not brought up at that joint meeting.
Because I'm kind of thinking, you know, at the same time that I know what it would take, I don't want to hurt other organizations that are cooperating. I mean, you guys are there for work days and all that stuff too, aren't you?
Absolutely, yes. Yep. Yeah, like I said, our organization brought in, you know, we had probably 20 plus volunteers. We brought in 3 tractors. We brought dirt that our organization paid for from another location. We brought it over to the ballparks. That was our input into it.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Council President Parsons?
So my question is for Little League. Why are you doing this now in December? And why didn't you notify them last month that you were thinking about doing
We'll
this?
have to them come back up
That's
to
fine.
do that. All right, any more questions
You done-
for?
you done with
this
me?
gentleman? Hang
Nope.
on. Nope, sounds like Councilor Ryan has a question for you.
Before we switch teams here. A lot of baseball euphemisms. So do we know the approximate difference dollar-wise, what this would be with the increase for your McNary program?
Microphone, if you would, please, because the people who are viewing won't be
People
able
at
to hear
home
it.
can't hear you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we can.
Right.
Based on field usage last year, it would be approximately $1,860. It was
Okay, so that's where you got the
$186.
$1,900 from
Correct,
that I have
correct,
written down.
roughly,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so, okay, hold on. So my question then is, can we just charge softball double? No, okay. Because tell by the look on Clint's face, that's not
Why
gonna
not?
work.
Let's charge a third-party softball organization the same we get charged.
That's what I'm saying.
that would
Okay,
help.
okay, so sure. So that, I mean, there's a look at pricing.
Absolutely.
It's a good point. I was teasing, don't print that, Eric. So, okay, so we're looking at a difference of 1,900 for the kids, even though, and that doesn't include T-ball that we're doing for free. And it doesn't include, so, okay. I think that's all I have for you, because then I'll ask Mr. Holland the other couple questions financially, and I think that will help me catch up to
Perfect.
where I'm at, since those are probably for him,
All right,
unless,
Thank you.
we good?
yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have one more question for,
Little League,
Couple,
come
yeah.
back up.
Come on up.
just a couple more questions real quick, and then we want to wrap this up. Or table it.
Hi.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, we appreciate you hanging with us while we kind of get up to speed on this.
So my question, I will ask you, why are we waiting till December, and why haven't we communicated with them before that you were thinking about doing this? And when did you think you were going to do this?
So we wanted to wait until after we'd had our league retreat. When we have our league retreat, that's when we talk about the upcoming season. That's when we talk about the plans that we wanted to try and accomplish, things that we want to get done out of the Little League fields. That Little League retreat didn't take place until November. The deadline to make a submission for something like this was December 1st. We submitted our We submitted our proposal before the deadline at the end of November. The reason we didn't communicate with KOSA is didn't really think that we necessarily had to as the manager of the park. I understand that it's going to have an impact on some other groups. It's also going to have an impact on Keizer Little League. It's not just one organization that's going to pay the increased fees. We're also going to pay those increased fees, but we're willing to do that. We're willing to do that for the betterment of this park. The business decision that was made by KOSA, while admirable, with the free Little League, it sounds like it's going to put them in a bind. I had no idea that they were going to be offering free Little League. That was a surprise to us when it was announced. So as you can see, while we're working hard to try and maintain good relationships with KOSA, and I think we've done that, they've got a great group of folks over there. We don't always communicate. We're two completely separate organizations, and we operate as such. So perhaps we could do a better job of communicating, them to us, us to them. But that's why.
Okay. Council, any other questions? One more?
Yeah, I was waiting for Clint. Okay, thank you. Did you say hurry?
No, I said brief.
That's my whole cold. I haven't been able to breathe for a month. So I got really excited when I heard you had a joint board meeting. I was like, that's awesome. But a joint board meeting should have some good communication. I think that so everybody knows, because you plan on including them in that. So I'm wondering, because I don't know your prices, I don't pretend to have any idea of what you're charging out there other than what you share with us here. So I'm wondering if there is some inequity with other groups, maybe men's tournaments or versus softball versus, the younger. I mean, before we look at the charge, which I understand why we're here, but are we not starting on the right playing foundation of being equal and being consistent with everyone?
So the softball organization question, that was an agreement that was made with the prior president. As a matter of fact, I spoke with a guy's name is Benji, who runs this operation. Spoke with him today, told him that there will be a fee increase. He's given me a list of dates that he wants. We're going to negotiate the dates that he can play out at our fields. Just for point of clarification, if you're looking at our price structure, it's $40 for T-ball. It is $90 for AA. It's $110 for AAA. We've got some of the lowest Little League fees in District Number 7. We work very hard to keep those fees low. And if any kid ever came to us, and they do all the time, every year, and they say that they can't play, we pick up the cost of that. The number of kids that play for free in our programs is quite remarkable.
I have no doubt. I guess I'm wondering if on a softball level, and they're not a local organization, meaning Keizer, correct?
Many teams are from Keizer, yes.
So they have a few teams.
So
but
they're from the
their
Willamette Valley.
organization is not.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're all throughout the valley.
Okay, so do you work on a scheduling basis to allow Keizer teams I know that Camp with the Turf Field, so Keizer before outside organizations for the slot times? Are you giving them a benefit of the doubt of
No, we
being
typically try not to, but they play
local
on
kids?
Sundays a lot.
Okay,
And
sure.
Sundays are typically not a day that we schedule games, and it's typically not a day that that McNary Youth
That they need-
Baseball
that they need.
uses for games.
So you've let them know that they're going to have a price increase, obviously, right? Because they're getting ready to sign their dates for
Correct.
schedules, right? So when did you let them know that?
This morning.
Okay, and that's if it passed, of course, probably, right?
Right.
Okay, so I guess I have got a lot of information here, and I'm a little bit confused. I want to make sure there's equity, and the Keizer kids are served well, and that we're all on the same page, and that it's not that it's fair to all the kids, no matter what association that they're playing with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm concerned that I'm hearing that the communication and the pricing isn't in line with being consistent. And so I would encourage, that concerns me. I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say it's not my job to set the prices, and so I'm sure not here to tell you how to do it, but I'm concerned about trying to make it fair for all the kids. And so, and for all the scheduling and all of that. And I love the fact we're coming together is important. I'm just not sure how to do that when we're looking at increasing, and I want, I mean, maybe we need to leave this group out until, because they weren't communicated with until the spring. I don't know. I mean, I think there's an answer here. I'm just not sure, it's
All right.
what it is.
Right.
You
Thank
can see my concern.
All right. We're good?
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're good?
We're good.
Oh,
Let me mention one other thing that Mr. Walsh mentioned, that when they book the fields, sometimes they don't use them. Actually, they don't use them 25 to 30% of the time that they sit vacant, which affects us tremendously because we generate $100 to $120 per field in the concession stand. We can't book those fields when they don't show up because they paid for them. So, I've been after our league about all the empty fields for the last 2 years. It's one of my biggest hang-ups is how many fields are empty. Well, as I've had a chance this year to look at it, I've even called Mr. Walsh twice to talk to him why the teams didn't show up here when they booked it out. So that affects us tremendously on the revenues we're trying to raise to pay for the complex. And so.
okay. All right, so what I'd like to do at this point is to, hang on just a sec.
Wait a sec.
Thank you. I'd like to table this, and we need some additional information going forward. Clearly, we don't have enough information to go forward tonight. What I've heard is that we need additional information on true costs for both organizations. There's volunteer work that's gone in on both sides, so I don't have enough information on the budgets. In years past, I've gotten the budgets of both organizations in the packet, and they were not included this year. In addition we have to factor in, foregone revenue, like foregoing the T-ball and revenues that come in from that. And then you also look at, the donations and so forth. Both organizations do a great job bringing in donations, but that reflects on true costs of the facility. So that would help me paint a better picture of where both organizations are financially. The booking and so forth has to do with the contract, and that's really, while I understand that is an ongoing challenge, is not part of the discussion tonight because we are talking about the field rates. How you guys work that out has already been established, as I understand the contract, if I'm correct, City Attorney.
I'm sorry, what was the
The
question?
booking, for the way the fields are booked is delineated in the contract.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
a description to that. So in terms of the field allocations, you mean?
Yeah, so that's in there. So what is on the table tonight is the field rates. And what I'm hearing from everybody is that we don't have enough information to understand the finances of the organizations to move forward at this time.
So just so that we're clear, so that we know what to ask for, what specific information do you need from them to become clear about that?
I need their actual budgets. The spreadsheet is incomplete, and I have no information on McNair Youth Baseball.
That's going to take a couple of years, by the way.
Old habits died hard.
For the name change to stick.
Is there any other
okay.
information that would be helpful to council members in better understanding the requests? Councilor Anderson.
Well, I appreciate you asking for that information, Madam Mayor, because this was an enormous, there's a lot of stuff to consider here. And I was just at a point where I was not in a position to be able to cast an informed vote tonight on this. I need to have something better presented because we've got some information that is annual cost, and then there's some other information that is some special allocated costs that were incurred, but then also there are some other ongoing costs that are in there. I'd like to see it really clear so that I can make an informed decision. And not only that, but I'd like to get a better handle on, why $10, the percentage of that versus how much their actual costs are going up to justify that rate increase, maybe something a little bit lower, I don't know, but hopefully that would come out when we get all this information. So I appreciate your action. Thank you.
And I want to hear from both organizations because clearly there's board decisions that have been made by both organizations on how funds will be allocated, and free T-ball was a cost consideration by the organization, and that needs to be factored in as well from the McNair Youth Baseball point of view. So that's going to help bring it a little closer to apples, so we understand the cost benefit of both. So
Madam Mayor.
is there any other information you need? Councilor Herrera and then Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know if you can include the volunteer hours, if you give some kind of in-kind documentation, some kind of information on the hours you put in, especially you guys that manage it. So I'd like to have that, if possible.
I've
Thank
got
you.
a brief answer on that one. Too many. Councilor Ryan.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going to say, and I know the man hours are a lot on both sides, and I think that there's a value in that, as you pointed out. So I think it's really important that you put there, and there's actual fiscal number online for volunteer hours of what that means. You don't have to make up a number. It's actually on there. So use that number plus your hours and the parents and all of that. So some parents might be an attorney for $200, and then they might be a social worker for $50. So it's fair for both sides, and the monies that including softball for whoever's volunteering out there. We're not excluding anybody. We're saying whoever the man hours are. Correct? I think you brought up that value.
It's the value
And
to
so-
the spreadsheet for both organizations, so we have a better understanding. Years past, we have gotten more complete information, but usually it was relative to the contract. So that's what's missing here. And it would be very helpful for us to understand where we are with how these funds are going to be, why they're needed, and where they're being allocated.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from the council is full description from both organizations of what programs you're providing, a full accounting of both costs and revenues, and then a description of volunteer hours put in by each organization. Is that what you wish?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear?
Chris, I think that includes the sponsorships. I mean, incoming revenue.
That's
That-
revenue.
That's part of
Yeah.
part of the revenues.
Just making sure.
Sponsorships are revenue, in-kind donations are revenue. That's all on the plus side. When we have a very generous community when it comes to our young people in sports. But that is a real cost. If they were not being underwritten, that would be something that have to be paid for. And that figures into the cost of the complex, the cost of maintaining both the program and the facility. And most important right now is because the city owns the facility, we want to make sure that we're seeing where the investment is. Councilor Anderson.
I'm sorry. One other thing. I don't know if there's a way to provide any sort of projection on how much this proposed increase might bring in, but
I think that
might be helpful.
yeah.
Maybe we'll get that with the rest of the financial information, but that'd be
Yeah.
helpful. Thank you.
We see what the breakdown is. That would be helpful. All right.
So hopefully we can have this information reasonably soon so that we can schedule a follow-up meeting first part of January, like right after the break. Later part of January?
Well,
Look
my
nervous.
question was, does the council want this back by the January 2nd meeting or by the January, I believe, 16th, the second meeting in January?
What's going to be reasonable for the organizations to be able to get the information to city staff?
I think with Christmas and
With the holidays, we might have to push this out to the second meeting in January, which I know is going to really delay everybody's pricing. And I apologize for that, but.
let's shoot for that. Let's
so
shoot for that. Okay,
And that's
thanks.
going to be the third Tuesday in January because of the Monday holiday.
Correct.
16th?
I
Okay,
believe it's
so-
the 16th.
16th of January. All right, we will,
And the next time we see this, we'll hit a home run on it, so. Okay.
short.
You know,
fine.
the main thing to me is, while I was a Little League guy, I'm a bigger Keizer guy, and I want the guys to not have no animosity. I want to work together, and make it fair. Because I jumped the gun on this thing because Little League, I'm totally I've been there, But at the same time, it's got to be good for all the kids in Keizer. So I think if we should work together and, no bitter stuff. I remember a few years ago they had some kind of bitter stuff, and that was not good for our community. And let's work together and come up with something that we can all work on, at least for this year, to finish the year, and then we'll move on and move forward. Because I don't want to see. I see everybody here that I know, guys that I really appreciate their work, all from both sides, both teams, and I want them to. I want everybody to work together to try to think about the bigger picture of Keizer, our kids in Keizer, and that's kind of what So, and I know you will. So, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's it for me.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. Let's go on to the consent calendar, shall we? Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 6 items left on the consent calendar. Item A is a resolution authorizing the city manager to award and enter into an agreement with K&E Excavating, Inc. for construction of the Dearborn Bridge replacement project. B is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase Ford K8A all-wheel drive police interceptor utility vehicle and a Ford Explorer four-wheel drive utility vehicle for police department. Item C is authorizing the mayor to enter into Oregon Public Works Emergency Response Mutual Aid Agreement. E is a resolution authorizing the city manager and chief of police to sign memorandum of understanding number 7 relating to the 2015-2018 collective bargaining agreement. Resolution F is a resolution authorizing the community development director to sign intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon for revitalization plan. And the last item on the agenda, the consent calendar, is approval of the December 4th, 2017 regular session minutes.
Are there any polls? No. Oops, I better turn my microphone back on. Are there any polls? Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second?
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. One absent, 2 absent. We'll let her vote on that when she gets a chance. All right. Moving on then to, hello, little agenda. Let's go to our liaison reports. Councilor Freeman, shall we start with you? All right.
I don't have a lot, but it is 'tis the season, and so I just want to thank the chamber for the parade and the tree lighting. It was fabulous during the parade. The weather was great, and thanks to everyone and all the Jingle Dash runners. Most importantly, to our community, who I think always goes above and beyond with food and gifts to those less fortunate and who can really use a great pick-me-up this time of year, and to volunteers who just volunteer because they do it, and much appreciated. And also a continued thank you for the community dinner group. My mom goes, and she thoroughly enjoys everyone that's in the kitchen and meeting people, and it just is a great opportunity for the community to come together once a month for dinner. So thank you to all those volunteers, and Merry Christmas to everyone.
Thank you very much. Council President Parsons.
I was really busy working the last 2 weeks, and so everybody took my thing except the parade. We did the parade. I did get off to do that, but I again second Councilor Freeman in thanking the chamber for a job well done on the parade and a job well done on the Jingle Dash. I heard nothing but positive vibes, and they love the Christmas tree this year. They think they can see it better than years past, and it's very bright, and the lights. So we look pretty festive in Keizer. So yes, Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had my points of interest meeting 2 weeks ago, and the highlight of that meeting was our designation for Keizer Christian Community Church, or Keizer Christian Church, designated as a point of interest, which was very historical. They've been, I think, over 100 years in the community. Also, I want to thank my good colleague Bruce Anderson for coming and talking to our leadership club at Kennedy Elementary. He did a really good job, and the kids enjoyed his comments about helping, about being a good person, and some leadership skills. I thought that was very good. Thank you very much. Also, I would like to compliment our planning department. Shane and Nate for helping conduct our cost of growth stakeholders thing, and I participated in. I was very, I didn't know what to expect, and it was pretty cool. I thought it was very good feedback from the Latino guys that I brought in. They were very good. And also, my compliments also on the parade. It was a very good job by the Chamber of Commerce, and that's kind of a highlight for our family. We enjoy that. I just came back from Las Vegas for the.
Yeah, what happened?
What happened?
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
Boise State won. It was a fun time, and it was a bad showing by the Ducks, but it was a really good hanging out and meeting new friends, and we had a really good time. I did have a bad week last week. I had injuries, and I apologize for missing 2 important meetings that I couldn't. I did communicate with Janet on one of them, but on my birthday I broke my. I didn't break, but I hurt my leg. I had to go on crutches right before my trip. So it was kind of interesting, but we pulled it off. So thank you very much. That's all I got.
And I'm threatening to get a whole thing of bubble wrap for you and for Counselor Ryan.
I'm a senior citizen.
I'm not.
Just both accident prone. Senior citizen. Counselor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, gosh, I find myself having a lot of C's to talk about: chamber, costs, counselors, concerts, classics, and city staff. I would just second Councilor Freeman's good thoughts for about the chambers and the community's efforts on the tree lighting and the parades and the runs. Unfortunately, I couldn't participate in or couldn't be around for the parade, but it was really seemed like it was a great chance, and I think it's always good for our community to come together and things like that. Second, Councilor Herrera's note on the cost of growth group, which I also participated in. I really appreciated that, and I want to just really commend Councilor Herrera for his really working and pulling together that leadership group at Kennedy Elementary. I really think that speaks to his high regard for giving back to our community, helping our kids move along, but also I just really appreciate his leadership in Keizer's Latino community. Well, it's as well. It's really commendable, and that folks have a good role model to look up to. So really, really want to thank you for that. I am about concerts a lot with my kids and our school program, so been down at the Capitol quite a bit for a lot of those concerts down there. It's a beautiful venue. If you've never been down there for a concert, I highly encourage you all to go down there to do it. Just wonderful at this time of the year, but also just listening to the kids sing. Concerts at the school. Since Councilor Reed is not here, I have to really shout out to all of the kids and our directors as well, notably Josh Rist, the choir director at McNary. He's just an outstanding addition to this community, as well as Andy Thomas at Whitaker Middle School. Just year in and year out, Andy does a phenomenal job. And then also I have to, while I'm giving a shout out to Mr. Rist, I also have to give a shout out to Mr. McLean down at South High. Both Josh Rist and Will McLean did a little bit of a sharing of programs. So the Southern Airs came up and shared the stage with McNary when the McNary kids were performing, and then they did kind of turnabout, and they McNary kids came down during the South choir concert. So just really neat to see this collaboration going on together with those. So just for a point for your calendar coming up this week, Wednesday and Thursday, Classic Tap Dance, our own tap dance studio here in Keizer, is going to be down at doing the Magic at the Mill at Willamette Heritage Center. So you can catch them each of those nights. And yes, I do have a personal stake in that because my daughter dances in that for like 14 plus years. And then, I do have to back up. I did go to the Keizer Chamber Board meeting. That was my one liaison meeting. And you're kind of seeing all of their hard work paying off at the parades, the tree lighting, and lots of other good stuff that is going to be coming up. One thing that I would just point out about the Holiday Lights Parade, they try their best, I think the chamber does, to go to a lot of effort to try and get trash collected in trash cans. So they set out 50 garbage cans just for that parade. Unfortunately, there was a lot of garbage left out on the street and elsewhere that had to be cleaned up. And so I just encourage folks, take that extra little second and drop your garbage into a garbage can, please. Just help keep the community cleaned up. One other thing, they had huge success. The Keizer Network of Women, the No Giving Basket program, was a huge success, high impact. They had, I think it was Bonaventure came forward with an idea they wanted to give away Christmas trees, and there was some personal stories given about the impact that providing the trees, the decorations, and the presents to the families who really need it. It's about $300 per tree cost, but just hearing that at this time is very heartwarming, and just the impact that is made, especially with the family that got that experienced that awful fire. They were able to bring that family in to help them out as well. So, and I think that was, and just marking your calendars, First Citizens Award Banquet coming up on January 20th. The community conversation that the chamber will be conducting here, I believe, is February 28th at 6 to 7:30. And then, of course, Irish Festival back in May 17th through the 20th. Finally, I just want to give a personal thank you to to all of our city staff. You guys just do a phenomenal job, and frankly, you make us look good. So I just really appreciate all of your time and effort that you spend on us. So thank you so much, and my wishes for Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year 2018.
Thank you very much. Just a couple more things to add before we wrap it up tonight. Our youth counselor's not here. Oh, sorry, Counselor Ryan's back. I'll come back to the end.
I might cry. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for including me. Thank you. I did miss a few social things just because that stupid cold bug that's hit everyone has hit me. So I don't have a very full report, but I did do some fun Christmas stuff with the city, and I wanted to shout out to the Joint Rotary Chamber luncheon was amazing, and the choir, McNary Choir, just literally brought me to tears. They were truly wonderful, and I thought, man, I'd hire them in a heartbeat for a party or an event or anything. They were better than I could have ever imagined, and so I want to make sure they get extra kudos for that. And I want to recognize that I think the Chamber of Commerce, one of the things we do on our budget is to provide money for their calendar, and I want to recognize that their calendar has changed. It's improved. I see a huge difference in in the way they're doing the calendar, and I want to make sure everybody acknowledges that and utilizes it because it looks great. And then I think that's, I'll just stop there because everything else was Christmassy and y'all already said it. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Just a couple of things that have kept me busy the last couple of weeks. The SEDCOR, which is the Strategic Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors, met on the 6th, and we are working on the next round of strategic planning. For years, one of their big goals has been to lease out the property out at Mill Creek, and that mission is just about accomplished. A big chunk of that went, of course, to Amazon, 1 million square feet there, but there are many other organizations going into that land that are going to bring a lot of jobs to the area. So our job now is to look forward in the next 10, 15 years, what's next. MWAC, the Mid-Willamette Area Commission on Transportation, met the next day on the 7th, and working again toward the statewide transportation plan for roads and highways, and as well as for transit. So these are funds that are coming through the House Bill 2017. On Friday night, the 8th, Whitaker Middle School and McNary High School, their jazz choir, the Season of Love concert that was 3 nights down at Salem Alliance. Congratulations. The kids are amazing, wonderful programs, and it was thoroughly delightful. So really enjoyed that. And these were fundraisers for charity. So I appreciate also the opportunity for our young people to continue the tradition of our community of pride, spirit, and volunteerism. more volunteers at the Santa breakfast, ho, 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 at the Keizer Fire District, and that was a lot of fun, extremely well attended. This was one of their bigger ones in recent memory, and the money from this helps go to fund the candy canes, which were passed out this last weekend. Some people noticed that either the fire district didn't get to them or they were very late, and you know, Santa had to make a special run down to Southern California to help with the fires down there. So, you know, hopefully people were able to explain to their kids, and they're welcome, of course, to come down to the fire district and check with them.
They did go out Sunday too, though.
They went out Sunday as well, which is awesome.
At drive-through Santa this year.
A drive-through as well. So they just try to make up for it, but it's really tapped resources all over the state, and Keizer's among them as well, helping folks with those horrific fires in Southern California. On the 12th was the Council of Governments Board of Directors. I don't know how it happened, but starting in January, I'll be the chair of that board. So here we go. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, I'm vice chair. Wait, what?
Did you miss a meeting? Because that's what happens when you miss a meeting.
Yeah, you'd miss a meeting and, you know, be there or be chair. No, kind of, it's a, it's a, yeah. So I'm really excited about the work that's being done there to, with the new executive director, Sean O'Day. He's been there coming up on 6 months, and he is really working hard with all of the partner organizations to make sure that the Council of Governments is everything it can be for all of the organizations. The Mayor's Coalition, which is Marion, Polk, and Yamhill, we're hosted by Mayor McCardle of Independence at his home for our Christmas gathering, and I want to thank him for his warm hospitality and also for opportunities to work with mayors, those who have been in the business for a while, those of us who have not been at it for so long, to help each other out. And we're all volunteers, and it makes a big difference when we network like that and can get to know each other and help each other with advice on what to do and maybe sometimes what not to do. We also had the Central High School Choir come and sing, and they were absolutely delightful. The Community Development Partnership Board met on the 14th. That was a busy day. So they're moving forward on reorganizing on how that can be effective going forward. It's based on an old model of representation, so the Council of Governments is going to take a good look at that. Commissioners' breakfast was that morning, and I had a very nice breakfast with 2 of our county commissioners talking about issues that are coming up and going to affect us statewide. League of Oregon Cities is going to be working on some pretty significant issues for getting ready for the short session, so hang on, folks. February goes really fast once the gavel goes down for the legislature. Heritage Christmas was also on the 14th, and that was in the evening, so the Heritage Center is open for free and events several times a year, and that was the one that kids could come, story time, art, all sorts of fun things for families. So thank you to all the people who organized that. The France School of Dance did their semi-annual fundraiser for the Keizer Community Food Bank, so another one of our great arts organizations, and that was on Friday night at North Salem High School. But they've been a business in this community for well over half a century. So thank you for supporting our food bank. And finally, Coffee with Kathy, which is our monthly coffees, come and visit with the mayor. So that was Saturday, and this football game thing interrupted a whole lot of people coming. But those who came were small but mighty, and the 2018 schedule will be coming up. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the city manager for other business. This time is provided for the council and staff to bring up matters not on tonight's agenda. City manager.
Tracy.
I don't have anything tonight, but Merry Christmas to everybody.
Tim?
Nothing here either. Thank you.
Nothing from the PD? Nothing. Phil?
What everybody else said. Nothing.
Question for you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
We're helping out the city of Salem with some water.
We're getting ready to. The Salem went through some testing procedures today, got some water sample results back that were good. I won't say positive because that's not the way we want to say it, water sampling. And I guess from here they're going to fire things up tomorrow, I understand. Starting that system up takes some adjustments, and you don't just go flip a switch. And so all of the precursor testing was done today, and I would anticipate that would be fired up tomorrow. And we'll run it until they don't need it anymore.
Do they have a timeline for anticipating when the river will be able to supply some of their water again?
I have not heard. I have not heard anything detailed-wise at all about that, so I'm not sure.
And for those who don't know, this was because of a tanker truck spill?
Yeah. The semi hauling gasoline that crashed up on Highway 22 just east of Idana Saturday created a need for Salem to close off their water intake at Guerin Island on the Santiam River. Some of the fuel, I'm not sure how much. I don't think anybody knows for sure how much fuel dumped into the river. So as a safety precaution, Salem closed off their intake and using other sources of water, one of which is an emergency intertie with us. So.
Thank you.
Counselor.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. So coming up, this is our last meeting for 2017. We'll be meeting on Tuesday, January 2nd, which will kick us off for 2018 at 7 p.m. in regular session. Work session that is scheduled for January 8th. We don't have a topic at this point. We'll see if one develops in the next few weeks. And then January 16th, again, a Tuesday, because of the Martin Luther King holiday, we will meet in regular session. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Then Merry Christmas, everyone. We'll see you next year. We are adjourned. It is 8:52.